know the wildest secrets of the NHL? What if I told you there's a tradition involving flying octopuses and a loophole that lets regular folks like you play in real games? From record-breaking rinksters to some of the strangest team tales, we're going to talk about the craziest, funniest, and most surprising stories the NHL has to offer. So get ready, because these ice-cold facts are going to blow your mind. In most NHL games, you probably don't think much about the pucks, right? But here's a cool fact about them. They keep those bad boys frozen. Yep, those rubber discs are stored in the freezer to stop them from bouncing around like crazy. They need to be between -10 and -6.7 degrees Celsius before hitting the ice. They even swap them out every couple of minutes to keep things consistent. Each game uses about 25 to 30 pucks. Now let's talk about the Stanley Cup. This trophy has been through a lot. First off, did you know there are actually two Stanley Cups? One's a replica for fans to gawk at, and the other is the real deal that players hoist in victory. To tell them apart, check the bottom. The real one has the Hockey Hall of Fame logo. So next time you see it, you'll know if you're looking at the genuine article or just a fancy replica. Speaking of the Stanley Cup, have you ever noticed the typos? This prestigious trophy is full of spelling errors. From players' names to team names, it's like a who's who of misspellings. The Boston Bruins were once spelled with Tucus, the BQSTQN Bruins. And how about the Toronto Maple Leafs being called the Toronto Maple Leafs? Even hockey great Jacques Plante had his name spelled differently every time he won. And here's another strange fact. The Stanley Cup has had some wild adventures. It's been used as a flower pot, a cereal bowl, and even a baptismal font. It's been lost, stolen, and dented more times than you'd believe. So next time you see a puck flying across the ice or the Stanley Cup being raised, remember there's a lot more to these iconic symbols than meets the eye. Let's say you're at an NHL game and someone throws an octopus on the ice. You'd probably think, what the heck is going on? Welcome to Detroit, where tossing an octopus onto the rink is a playoff tradition dating back to 1952. The 8 arms symbolize the 8 wins once needed to clinch the Stanley Cup. Sneaking an octopus into the arena is no small feat, but Red Wings fans are dedicated to this slimy ritual. Now, if you thought octopus tossing was wild, let's talk about hats. When a player scores a hat trick, fans celebrate by flinging their hats onto the ice. What then happens to all those hats? Well, it depends on the team. The Philadelphia Flyers have a display showcasing the best of the tossed hats, while the Colorado Avalanche donate them along with new ones to charity. Sometimes, players even snag a hat for keepsake. Remember the 2013 flood in Calgary? The Saddle Dome, home of the Flames, was submerged under 15 feet of water after record rainfall. The flood was so severe that the event level was a total loss. Miraculously, after 69 days and millions in repairs, the arena was ready for the season opener. And here's another funny incident. In 1974, the Buffalo Sabres drafted a Japanese player named Taro Tsujimoto. But Taro didn't exist. Sabres GM Punch Imlach, fed up with the slow draft process, made up the player as a prank. The NHL didn't catch on for weeks, and Taro became a legend in Buffalo. Fans still wear his jersey to games, celebrating the legendary draft day joke. Teams have some truly unexpected stories that make the NHL even more fascinating. Let's discuss a few of these interesting facts. First up, we have the emergency goalie loophole. Believe it or not, if both of a team's goalies get injured during a game, they can call on an emergency backup goalie, e-bug, from the crowd. These e-bugs are often local amateurs who get free tickets to games and must be on standby just in case. One of the most famous e-bug stories is David Ayres, a Zamboni driver who ended up playing for the Carolina Hurricanes in 2020. Not only did he step in, but he also secured the win. How about the Pittsburgh Penguins' attempt at a live mascot? In the late 60s, they introduced Penguin Pete, an actual penguin, to skate with the team. Pete was adorable and quickly became a fan favorite. Unfortunately, he only managed a few games before falling ill and passing away. The Penguins eventually replaced him with Iceberg, a more traditional and less fragile mascot. And then there's Manon Rhéaume, who shattered the glass ceiling in 1992 by becoming the first and only woman to play in an NHL game. She suited up for the Tampa Bay Lightning in a preseason exhibition match. Rome had already made history by being the first woman to play in Quebec's major junior league and had helped Canada win gold at the Women's World Championships. Her presence on the ice was groundbreaking and proved that hockey truly is for everyone. Some NHL players don't just break records, they smash them to pieces. Take Didnt, for example. At 6'9", Didnt, he's the tallest player in NHL history. This guy is a giant on skates. Not only does his height give him an incredible reach, but he also holds the record for the hardest slap shot at a whopping 108.8 miles per hour. When Chara winds up, goalies everywhere brace themselves. If you see him on the ice, you know something epic is about to happen. But height isn't the only record-worthy trait. Let's talk about speed. Specifically, the fastest goal in NHL history. This record is tied between three players: Doug Smale, Brian Trottier, and Alexander Mogilny, each scoring just 5 seconds into a game. Can you imagine the excitement? The puck drops, and before you can even sit down with your popcorn, bam, goal! It's the kind of start that gets fans jumping out of their seats and leaves the opposing team wondering what just happened. Now, records aren't always about positive stats. The 1980 Winnipeg Jets hold the unfortunate record for the longest winless streak at 30 games. That's an entire month of November and most of December without a single win. They won just 9 games all season, lost 57, and tied 14. It was a rough year for the Jets, but hey, records are records, right? And sometimes the struggle makes the eventual success even sweeter. And then there's Bobby Orr, a true hockey legend. He was the first player in NHL history to sign a $1 million contract. Back in 1971, this was huge news. Orr had just finished a season where he was second in league scoring and won his 4th Norris Trophy. He was making $35,000 a year, less than the average Canadian family income at the time. But after that stellar season, he signed a 5-year deal worth $200,000 per season, making him the first $1 million man in the NHL. Did you know that an NHL player was traded for just $1? Yep, you heard that right. Chris Draper was traded from the Winnipeg Jets to the Detroit Red Wings in 1993 for a single buck. Draper went on to have an amazing career with the Red Wings, winning 4 Stanley Cups. The trade was so absurd that Draper himself didn't know about it until years later. When he found out, he had a good laugh, and the rest of the league did too. But that's not the only bizarre trade in NHL history. There was also the time when the Toronto Maple Leafs tried to trade their entire arena. Back in the 80s, the Leafs owner Harold Ballard was in financial trouble and approached Edmonton Oilers owner Peter Pocklington with a wild proposal. Ballard wanted $50 million and was willing to trade Maple Leaf Gardens for Edmonton's Northlands Coliseum. It was a desperate move that almost happened, but Ballard backed out at the last minute, leaving everyone scratching their heads. Let's not forget the legendary Wayne Gretzky trade. In 1988, the Edmonton Oilers traded Gretzky to the Los Angeles Kings. The deal included $15 million in cash, which was unheard of at the time. Oilers fans were devastated, with some even protesting in the streets. Gretzky's move to LA helped popularize hockey in the United States, but it remains one of the most shocking trades in sports history. Lastly, there was a time the New York Islanders traded for the wrong player. In 1996, they thought they were getting the talented defenseman Wade Redden from the Ottawa Senators. However, due to a mix-up, they ended up with defenseman Brian Berard instead. While Berard turned out to be a good player, it was a classic case of mistaken identity that had fans and the media laughing for weeks.